So I was basically made redundant twice whilst I was on maternity leave, yeah. So that new position has been made redundant as well.
That is Paula Oyinkan, Nigerian British podcast host, marketing professional, and founder of the Paula Oyinkan Show. She reflects on how motherhood can be both beautiful and transformative, changing not just your life, but how you see yourself within it.
There's a vulnerability in strength, like being vulnerable. There's a strength in that as well. Especially as Black women, we've got this whole like strong, independent Black woman trope.
She explains why motherhood can reshape your sense of self in ways many women are not prepared for. By the end of this episode, you will learn how motherhood can reshape your identity, challenge your confidence, and deepen your ambition in unexpected ways. I'm Ezinne Asinugo-Onyeka, and this is the Goodmother Series. Okay, before we go into anything serious, if women listening met you today at this exact stage in your life, what version of Paula would they be meeting?
That is a really good question. Because this year, for the first time, I've actually chosen to just relax and like slow down and just be intentional. So when I say relax, I think for me, I've always described myself as somebody who's very who's got high capacity to do things. I'm very ambitious. I'm very go, go, go. I'm like, I need to hit this by the next year. I need to do this, this, and this. And for the first time, I've actually just sat down and been like, do you know what? What is your 10-year plan? How does that break down into a 3-year plan? Then what is your only focus this year? Like, you don't need to be doing everything all at once. So I feel like I'm just taking life a bit, not slower, but at the same time slower, just because I was going too fast. I was trying to like achieve everything in such a short space of time. And now I feel like if someone was to meet me right now, I would say I'm in a place of like living intentionally and also, I guess, continuing to discover who I am and what's important to me as a person.
I know you just said that before you were like trying to achieve everything. Can I ask, like, who was Paula before children and before your show, your creativity? I know you had mentioned something about being when you were made redundant.
Yeah.
Before all of that, who was Paula?
I would say, honestly, I've always been very ambitious. And I think contrary to popular belief, motherhood actually made me more ambitious. But one thing motherhood has done is made me just like appreciate time a little bit more and not appreciate time in the sense that, oh yeah, life is short, which it is, to be honest. I think death makes you appreciate the fact that life is very short, but it also makes me like value my time more. Like for me, it's like I want to spend as much time with my kids as I can. So if you're inviting me to a meeting and it's like there's no point in the meeting, that's a waste of my time. And it's like before I would have just been like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah to everybody. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But now I'm like, no, I'm sorry. If there's this switch to this, I'm not coming, you know?
I'm not
So
coming.
yeah, like
100%.
I think now I'm just trying to be a lot less people pleasing, and I know that it's still there to a certain extent, but I think this is why I say the intentionality comes in as well. Like you have to be intentional with your time because my time is very precious. Like when my kids go to nursery, that time, the amount of stuff I can get done, it's very different to what I would have done prior to having kids. Like I just was just living life, which is fair. I think when you're child free, live life, enjoy that time.
Listen, don't you feel like now that we have kids, we were just realized how much why
Yes.
were we just doing the most? Why were we not just enjoying?
Honestly, this is my thing. I just feel like, and I say it to my younger sister because she's the only one of us that doesn't have kids at the moment. Like, make the most of this time because honestly, I know that, you know, when you're child free, you have hobbies and you have things to do, but when you're child free, that's the only time that your time is really yours. So just maximize it because boy,
You know she won't listen to you
well,
because
well, sometimes you
I
have to
promise you
feel
she won't
it.
listen because everybody wants to enter this hood called motherhood.
I'm
And then
telling
when they
you,
enter the hood, they are just like, what?
yeah.
Is
Life
this
comes
it?
at you fast. Once you've had kids, you realize, wow, okay, where's the
Okay,
time
literally,
gone?
that's it. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. What did you think adult life was going to look like when you were younger?
This is such a good question because I was very much, and I think this is why I'm kind of different now. Like, I was very much the person where I'm like, okay, by the time I turn 21, I'm going to be engaged. By the time I turn 22, I'm going to be married. Then I'm going to have my first kid. I'm going to have all my kids by the time I'm 30. Like, that was my thing. Yeah. And then obviously, like, you get older, and first and foremost, those types of plans, you just can't time when it happens. You cannot time, like,
100%.
when or where you're gonna meet your husband or your person or whatever. Like, you can't control those kind of things. And those were the kind of things that I was planning so much towards. And that was like, I feel like a lot of time most girls, especially like, when you're from a Nigerian upbringing or even like African, those kind of upbringings, it's almost like you're just trained to look towards motherhood and look towards marriage. Like those are the things that we aspire to as young girls.
Absolutely.
And again, I said that I was very ambitious, which I was. So I aspired to having a business and doing those things, but also I was aspiring to be a wife and a mum. And now I'm here. It's not like I don't enjoy it, but I think, as you grow and you mature, I don't I don't feel like it's something necessarily to aspire to because you can't really control whether you do become a mum or a wife. Is it something that I would like to have or I wanted to have? Absolutely. But is it, can it really be a goal? Do you know what I mean?
No, I understand completely because when you enter the assumed goal, you're like, this is it. This goal is making me wake up at ungodly hours. Yeah,
Honestly.
this goal, I am having sleepless nights. Oh my God, this
Oh
goal is not fun at all.
gosh.
I can remember like when my dad, because I'm the youngest,
Mhm.
and everybody had like got married, and my dad just be looking at me like, why are you still in this house? Why are you still here? And it made me feel like, oh my God, I had to,
Mhm.
this is a checkbox
Yeah,
that
that's
completes
it.
me as a human. But sis, when I got to this checkbox, ah, I can't lie. I said, can someone just please uncheck me for a second? I need to just go and enjoy my youth a little bit more than seeking this checkbox because this checkbox is nuts.
It's a lot, it is a
And
lot.
in the most beautiful way as well.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful experience, but it's real.
It is. This is it. And I really, really agree with that because I think with like motherhood in particular, I enjoy it. Like I look at my kids and I'm like, oh, like I just, when you look at them and you really just feel like just love, you just watch them, the way they interact with each other, things like that. It just fills my heart. It really does. But at the same time, when it's like 6 a.m. in the morning and like my kids have come to my bed and they're literally climbing on my bed because they both want to be lying next to me. Or when one of them wakes up and turns the light on saying good morning at 5:30, it's like, well, it's not actually turn the light off. Do you know what I mean?
Please.
So
100%.
yeah.
Did motherhood arrive in a season where like you felt ready? Or was it like a season where your life was already moving too fast and it's
Mhm.
almost kind of calmed you down?
Do you know what? I actually feel like I really was in a place where I was ready because with like my kids, we planned it, like even though they were proper close on age, there's a 15-month age gap between my kids. So I was pregnant with my daughter.
I applaud you, sis. I applaud you because you're mad. You're mad.
I'm not
I love it
mad.
for you. You're
Do you know
mad.
what? Yeah, like when I reflect, when I'm out of that like newborn, very small baby phase, I reflect. I'm like, wow. So I actually got pregnant when my son was 5 months old. Like that's really close on reflection. But a lot of people did ask, oh, like, how was it transitioning from one to two? And I really said, I feel like transitioning from one to two was easier than transitioning from zero to one. And the reason I say that,
Really?
yeah, and I feel like people have different, takes on it. I've heard different
Experiences.
things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But for me personally, that was the case. And the reason I say that is because I feel like from going from like no children to one child, it requires a mental shift as a mother anyway, like from my perspective. I felt like I really had to come to that realization, like you're actually a mum now, like you're actually responsible for another human being. Like this is a completely new phase of your life. Whereas when I then had my daughter, who's my youngest, um, it was kind of like I'd already had that mental shift. Like I already knew I was a mum. So it was like she now came part of that mix. So yeah, for me, I found it easier, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed pregnancy and I miss it.
What do you think changed in you first when you realized, listen, I'm not just pregnant, I am responsible for a whole life now?
Wow, what changed in me first? Do you know what? I feel like it wasn't anything like where I was like, boom, this one thing changed. I feel like motherhood is a journey, honestly. And I think there's just different phases to that journey. One thing that I found, like when I was pregnant, when I had my son, I just kind of kept feeling like, you keep having those moments like, wow, so I'm really a mum. I think that even that first realization that you're actually a mom. Like, wow, even sometimes I reflect now, like, wow, so I actually carried these kids. Like, I actually gave birth to these kids. Like, I think having that realization, number one. And then again, I feel like with both pregnancies, it's very different. Because, with your first pregnancy, it's like you're very protective. It's like, yeah, I'm 35 plus 2 days, all of that kind of stuff. But with my second, I could not tell you, like, all I knew was my due date. And I knew that the due date was 2, 3 weeks away or whatever. Like, I didn't know what I was. And definitely not because I didn't care, but I think, you're preoccupied with another child and also you kind of like, you've kind of done it before. So I was definitely a lot more confident with my second pregnancy, even to the point that like after having my daughter, I carried on with my nail appointments because I knew that that was something that was very important to me. And it sounds like such a
I love
minor
it.
thing, but honestly, I feel
No,
like,
it's not.
yeah, because when you have a child, like it's so easy to kind of neglect yourself. And with my son, to be honest, I did stop getting my nails done for ages, for like a good 6+ months. And then I wasn't like staying on top of it at all when I was getting them done. But then with my daughter, I was very intentional with like, just making sure that even if it's just that one thing that I do, I will continue to do it every single month. So I had a lot more confidence there. And I think it's just like anything, the more you do it, the more you build confidence with it.
What do you think was harder for you or that you expected, especially in the earlier months? Whether it was harder than you expected, the
Oh.
body changes, the exhaustion, the
hmm
identity shift, or your mental load?
Oh gosh, I feel like it was so many things. I think the identity shift was definitely a big part for me because I really feel like the year that I had my son, so many major life things happened that year. Like I got married that year, we moved house that year, I started a new job that year, then I had my son that year. Like it was just so much. And being Nigerian, like we had the registry, we did that. And then we had the traditional and the white wedding. So basically planned like 3 weddings in the year that I had my first child. It was just so much stuff, honestly. And then obviously the next year I had my daughter. So it was like it felt like I couldn't, not that I couldn't breathe, but it's like I was coming up for air after like a few years.
Listen,
Like
I can't even breathe on your behalf. I'm just like,
honestly,
how is she standing?
it was just so much stuff. And bear in mind, yeah, like I feel like my life just completely did a complete 180 because I met my husband in 2021. So like, and then it was the following year that all these major life things happened. So it was just so much. I really felt like just so much was going on. And I was always a very organized person as well. And I like structures and systems and things like that. But I felt like I couldn't have those things because I was just planning so much at the same time. Um, so I think definitely that whole identity thing, because once I came out of that, like it was almost like after I'd had my daughter, that's when things really started to calm down a little bit. So I could actually reflect on like, wow, like who actually am I? What do I actually want to achieve in life? Like, so that mental thing was definitely a big part for me. And honestly, I feel like those periods, like, in that newborn phase, I have a really, really good village around me. I can't lie. Like, my husband is very supportive. His mum came from Nigeria. My mum lives like 5 minutes away from me. My sister lives like 5 minutes away from me. So I've got a very good village. But there was definitely moments, despite having that, that I felt really lonely. So I think for me, it was really like, it had to be like that mental and identity shift. It was like, when I reflect on it, because in the time, you don't even realize, you just carry on with life and you just do what you need to do. But when I actually reflect on it, it's like, wow, you really pushed through, girl, because that was a lot.
That was a lot. And, like, we're just meeting, and I'm proud of you because, like,
Oh, thank
I know
you.
if I had those kind of challenges, like, I'll probably crumble.
Honestly.
Like, with me, I'm pushing, everything needs at least 2 years space, please,
I don't blame
to,
you.
achieve it.
I think that's the best way
Yeah,
to
no,
do
it's
it,
a
for real.
tough.
It was so much. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
But you
gosh.
did it. You did it,
Here we are,
you know?
honestly. That
And
was like 4 years
to be
ago
honest,
now.
effectively something that you may not even recognize that has happened in you is how motherhood has actually sharpened you.
Mm.
Because if you reflect on yourself before becoming a mother, you might, and someone told you you are doing this, you probably look at them like you're nuts. But somehow somehow you've done it. And I think there's an element of motherhood sharpening your strength and your grit and your ability to push, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I think this is why I say as well, like, I feel like as a person, I'm very okay with slowing down because, you know, prior to, like, obviously I knew what was coming up. I knew that I was going to get married in 2022. I knew like everything. And I was thinking, yeah, like, that's cool. Boom, I have the baby in June, snap back, get married in September. Like, that was my thought process. Like, and now, and honestly, that's why I say, like, thank God with me, I had really good pregnancies and I had a very smooth labor as well. Because could you imagine somebody who's had like quite a traumatic pregnancy and a traumatic like birth, and like the recovery time is much longer. Like, they're really, really tight windows to get things done.
But you did it. You're having a little therapy session right now because you're like, I
Honestly,
haven't actually talked this through before.
honestly,
I have
I
struggled. I
haven't.
have worked hard.
I really have. I'm telling you. But you know what? When I reflect on it, yeah, I kind of feel like the maternity leave and the redundancy was really needed. Because imagine, like, during all of that, if I'm like still working a full-time job and I'm still like, and then I'm going back into a full-time job, you really don't have the time to process it. And I think also, when you're doing something full-time, like in terms of a business or whatever, again, I think that's something that really sharpens you and opens your eyes, because it's hard to build a business full time. Like, it's really hard. So that
Yeah.
was another whole period of reflection and like,
Please
yeah.
tell me more about the maternity leave and the redundancy. What had happened there?
So I was at Avon. I started that. This was a new job that I started the year that I got married. And I was doing their affiliate marketing because that's like my area of expertise when it comes to marketing. And in all fairness, so I started there in January 22, but then I went on maternity leave like 6 months later because obviously I had my son in June. And then I had like almost a year of maternity leave. And then obviously I went back pregnant. So like I wasn't gonna be there long on my return. So I went back there, I was pregnant. And during this period of time, one thing that I really wanted to do was like make an impact in terms of like just really delivering, making sure that, okay, I'm not gonna be here long before I go on maternity leave again. But let me like deliver, let me pull some big projects together and so on. And that's what I did. And as I was about to go on my second maternity leave, they were actually restructuring the company. Like they were having big meetings. They were going, like the senior management, they were going to different countries in Europe to like have these conversations. So as I was leaving to go on maternity leave for my daughter, I already knew potentially that something might come up because they were restructuring the company. So I knew it might come up. And then like the first month of being on maternity leave, yeah, out of the blue, my manager was like, "Oh, hey, can we have a catch up?" And I've been made redundant before. I've been made redundant at the role that I had before coming to Avon. So he was like, "Oh yeah, can we have a call to catch up?" And it was a man manager as well. So it's not like we were buddy buddy, like, "Oh yeah, I'm having a baby" kind of vibe. Like, not to say that men managers can't be that way, but with him, he was very like,
They rarely do.
yeah,
They rarely.
it was a different kind of relationship. So he was like, "Oh yeah, let's catch up." And I'm thinking, well, what does he want to catch up on? Because I hadn't even had the baby at this point. I'd literally just started my maternity leave. Or maybe I had, maybe I'd literally just had her. Um, so he did that, and then obviously he sent a calendar invite. I can see that HR's in it, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is obviously going to be like a redundancy kind of thing. So he we had the meeting. Lo and behold, it was a redundancy thing, but they were making another position available. Which like basically they would have just put my role straight into that position. So I decided, okay, cool. Let me take this new position, and then when I go back, I'll just start in this new position. So whilst I was on maternity leave, I was technically in that new position. And then like July, the following year, because my daughter was September 23, and then the following year I was like working towards coming back after being on maternity leave. So around like May, June, we were having these kind of conversations. And then I had to have a meeting with HR and with this new manager, and they're like, "Oh well, unfortunately that new position has now been made redundant as well." Yeah.
Wow.
So I was basically made redundant twice whilst I was on maternity leave, yeah. So that new position has been made redundant as well. And that I could either obviously take the redundancy, or I could like apply for roles internally, and just like they had a few roles internally that they could have put me forward for. But then I just like started reflecting, like I feel like if this is the second time a redundancy's come in, there's obviously not a lot of stability in this company. So
Company, yeah.
yeah, I just was like, do you know what? Let me just take the redundancy money. And it was a decent payout as well, because it was also like it added all like my holiday pay from being on maternity leave, things like that. So it was a decent amount of money. I was like, okay, cool, let me just take this. And then I was like, I actually started applying for jobs straight away, to be honest with you, because I was like, well,
You don't like break. You don't
yeah,
like a break. You don't like
no,
to breathe.
I don't.
You're,
Clearly,
you
clearly.
you don't like a
This is what
moment
I'm
of touching. Just
saying.
take a
No.
deep breath,
Do you know what?
My girl's looking for a job already.
This is what I'm
You
talking
just had
about.
you had two babies.
Honestly, like I was not thinking about it at all, because at this point I was already like my maternity leave was coming to an end. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I'm happy to go back, and this is what I'm saying. How I'm like being slower now with certain things and just trying to be intentional. Yeah, because I actually think that maybe there's something deeper there. Like, why don't I like to have breaks or gaps? And I honestly just feel like I need to
That
go,
was
go,
God trying
go.
to help you break,
I'm telling
Paula.
you,
God was
because
trying to help you break. You said, no, let me find another
I
job.
wouldn't have done it. That's what I'm saying. So I started applying for new jobs, yeah. And like normal roles like that I would apply for, that I've got the experience to apply for. It's like I was getting interviews, and then I was not passing the interview stage. And one thing I always say, not in a big headed way, yeah, but like once I get an interview, generally I'll pass the interview stage, because I've got the knowledge for these roles that I'm applying for. So I wasn't. And then I started reflecting. I thought to myself, maybe like this is an opportunity for me to just go full time and doing my own thing. And at this point, because I've always had like a side hustle or something that I'm doing here and there. And at this point, honestly, my plan was to just go back to a normal job, and I won't do a side hustle. I won't do anything. I'll just do my job and then figure out what I want to do with my life. Like that was my approach. And then obviously I got made redundant. And then I thought, well, maybe I should just risk it and try it and do something. And then this is when like I started reflecting on my journey. Like I was on a journey of kind of like finding myself again after having kids. And I realized, other women were kind of going through similar things to me. So I decided initially I was actually going to start a YouTube channel, just like a vlog, share my journey and so on. But then I thought, like, I have such great conversations with the women in my life. Like, I want to bring that into this YouTube channel. And then that's how I ended up coming up with the Paula Oyinkan Show. And in like the first year, it got over 4 million views across social media. And it's done good stuff. I've had some really, really great guests on as well. And I'm planning season 2 at the moment. I'd love to have you on, by the way.
Lovely. I would love to be on.
I'll let you know. Well,
no, that would be really exciting.
Yeah.
Do you know the funny part is how I connected with you was through a guest of mine that had been on your show.
Yeah.
She was like, you and Paula would get on so well.
And she wasn't wrong.
And I was like, yeah, I could definitely. She was not wrong at all. So I want to ask, at what point did motherhood like almost stop feeling like an event and start feeling more like a complete rewiring of who you are?
Again, I don't feel like there's like a point that I can pinpoint and be like, this was the exact moment. But I do feel like now I've like got the hang of it. So I feel like my brain is rewired. But mind you, my son is about to turn 4. So it's been a journey. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think honestly, it's more now, like when I look at my kids, they're at an age where they play independently, like they play with each other. And it's now when I look at that decision to have them so close in age, I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I'm really glad because they obviously they've got a beautiful relationship with each other. But honestly, the first few years, it felt like I was just kind of in survival mode, truthfully. Not to say it wasn't enjoyable, but it was hard. It was hard. And then on top of that, like I've always been that kind of person. I was like, oh, I don't want like motherhood to be my whole identity. Like, oh, I don't want to be one of those people. But honestly, when you become a mum, it actually does become a part of your identity.
It's your whole identity.
Like, that's just
it really is.
Yeah, this is it. So I'm like,
and there's no shame in that.
No,
there's really no shame in that.
There's none. And I think
more women should embrace it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I feel like just because it is like your identity, that doesn't mean you can't do things outside of motherhood. And I think maybe that's where like that whole idea of like, oh, I don't want it to be my identity came from. But yeah, I'm a mum, but I'm also an entrepreneur and I'm also this. Like, it is your whole identity, but actually also being entrepreneurial, that's part of your whole identity. Being Nigerian, that's part of your whole identity, So it's like, it's not something you could just put in a corner. That's just who you are.
And honestly, people don't understand even the reason why this show came about was because there's not a lot of conversation for us women that I feel like motherhood takes up majority of our mind.
It does.
And our time, and it is almost kind of shift and box into a corner as if it's not taking precedence. There's no day I have not functioned to think about my child. Like, yeah, since you were in the belly, like even before you were thinking about contraception, we always be thinking about you, So it's. I don't think it's fair for it to just be shifted to one side as if it's not taking up majority of our life. It is more than even work because you can go to the office 9 to 5, 5 o'clock. At least you can turn off. You see the children.
They don't turn it off.
24/7. They don't turn off. Your brain doesn't turn off. Nothing turns off. You're just like, I remember when Ethan was born and I used to be scared because I used to think like I'm a deep sleeper normally. I could sleep through anything. So I used to pray. I said, God, I'm about to have a child. If this child is crying and the house is on fire, I will not know because I'll just be sleeping and snoring like a goat. I was just like, this is not good. Not to realize that once this baby came, my sense of healing is off the roof. I literally can hear him cry before he cries.
And you can hear his distinct cry as well. Like, I can always tell when it's my child crying or somebody else's child crying.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Before we continue, a quick ask. If this episode resonates with you, please like, follow, and subscribe to the Goodmother Series on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. It helps these stories reach the people who need them, and it allows this work to keep growing with care and intention. And if someone came to mind while listening, consider sharing this episode with them. Now, back to the conversation. Let's talk about your show. You discuss a lot about the narrative gap.
Yes, I do.
You do. The space between what the world says about women and what women are actually living.
Mm-hmm.
How did motherhood make the gap impossible for you to ignore?
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting because honestly, if not for motherhood, I probably would have never started the Paula Oyinkan Show, because part of the thing that kind of triggered me to start it was the fact that I was trying to find myself again after motherhood, and I realized that so many other women are going through similar things. And I mean, the reason my show is not specifically about motherhood is just because I realized like a lot of women are going through these identity shifts and changes, whether like if you've just turned 30 and you're like, wow, who am I? I do think obviously motherhood is a huge identity like shift moment. But because of the conversations I was having, I realized it was women at different phases. With the narrative gap, it really came about through starting that podcast. I just got more interested in the podcasting landscape, and I was looking at other podcasts. I was listening to Diary of a CEO at one point. And I mean, with Diary of a CEO, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm a huge fan of the podcast, but if I see a topic that I think is interesting, that's generally when I would listen to it. And then it was like, as I started getting back into listening to it, I realized like, wow, there's like no Black women on here. Like, and then I actually counted, and honestly, it was like, I think less than 2% or something like that of their guests are Black women. And then that's kind of like what began to birth the idea of the narrative gap. And even that concept, it's evolved so much, because initially I was speaking about like the gap between like kind of how media portrays women versus our actual lived experiences. But then like I went to different events and I realized actually this gap is just like, it shows itself in all areas, like in motherhood, in women's health. Like, you know, there's a certain way that things like periods are portrayed, and then there's actually our lived experience as, you know, women who have periods. Like, it's a completely different experience to like how it's being portrayed. And then, like you said, from a motherhood angle, like on one hand, motherhood is like seen as, oh yeah, like you can do everything. I can be a mother. I could do this. I could do that, which I do believe to a certain extent. But I also feel like a lot of the time we just see the good side. Oh yeah, like she's done this and she's a mom and she's this and she's that. But you don't talk about actually like that period where you do feel lonely after having kids, even though there are like people all around you, or that moment of like actually accepting how your body is. And like, you know, it's evolved so much. And like, yeah, you want to get fit and healthy or whatever, but actually your body is just never going to be the same. Like, you know, little things like that. You just don't,
100%.
we don't talk about
100%.
it.
And I think the reason why we don't talk it actually also stems from our background. I can't
Yeah.
remember my mother ever sitting me down and telling me anything about, oh, okay, this is how it goes. This is
Mm-hmm.
even the concept of having sex. Like, enter, figure it out, shall you come out. That's, that, that's how I believe I learned. I think I always crack this joke. My mom thinks I'm nuts. I always say, I think my mom has believed I've been a virgin until I had a baby. I think that's been her mindset for like
Yeah.
my whole life, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
35. It's Did becoming a mother make you more compassionate towards women, or more frustrated by how women are expected to perform
Hmm.
strength?
I don't know. I don't think it made me more compassionate towards women, to be honest with you, because I've always been very compassionate towards women. I feel like when I reflect on all the things I've done in the past, like all the businesses that I've set up, or like groups or communities or whatever, it's always been very women centric. Like I've always been very passionate about women just kind of showing up confidently. For me personally, my sister, my older sister, she'll always say like, oh yeah, like you've always been really confident. Like, and it's not something that I've worked on or tried to do. I've just naturally been confident. Like when I walk into a room, I'll go there. And that's not to say I don't feel nervous or anxious in certain situations, but my default generally is confidence. Well, at least like I feel like I can exude confidence and people at least think that I'm confident. Yeah. So that's why I'm very like passionate about other women showing up confidently. But yeah, I don't think it's made me more compassionate. I feel like maybe in terms of the strength point, it has made me feel like there needs to be a lot more open conversations around, I say, the realities of motherhood. Because
The realities. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
100%.
I think that's it. The thing is, I don't want it to be like a Debbie Downer kind of thing. And I think maybe this is why people don't speak about the realities of motherhood, because you don't want it to be like, oh, like it seems negative or whatever. But I don't think it's negative. I think it's just real. Like I said, I mean,
Real.
yeah, that's it. Like you love it,
And I think
but
people need to hear more about the realness. And because
yeah,
I always feel like a lot of people jump into motherhood without a reality check on what
yeah,
it actually is, what
mhm,
it does to your mind, what it does to your body, what it does to your confidence. And sometimes, you could understand, sometimes motherhood gives you confidence.
yeah,
Sometimes motherhood reduces your confidence. But it's
mhm.
just good to know that there will be a shift
There will
in your
be.
confidence. So at least be ready to know that
Yeah,
something's gonna happen
yeah,
than just coming to it like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a child and I'll be myself.
mhm.
You were never gonna be yourself again.
You won't.
Like I I reached a point, like I was saying this to one of my other guests, like I went from a size 8'10" to an 18.
Honestly, girl, I'm even still working on that. My youngest is gonna be 3 this year. I'm still here working on it. 'Cause, boy.
I've accepted, and I think that's the purpose of the show, because I just want women to just tell their truth, tell what is actually happening,
Mhm.
and for the women listening to realize that there is a shift.
Yeah.
Just be aware of the shifts that could happen, and it may
Mhm.
not happen to you necessarily,
Mhm.
but if you're aware, okay, like I don't know, did this happen to you? Mine is terrible. I went from a size 5 feet to a size 7.
Oh, no. Do you know what? And I thank God that mine didn't go that way because 'cause I'm already a size 9. Like, I already have big
Oh,
feet, and honestly, like,
she
that's
said, "Where are we
the
going now?"
one thing, please, God, it's already hard. Please. Oh, God, no.
God, that's hilarious. Okay, so you were made redundant on maternity leave, and then you bet on yourself and started building something fantastic. I've got to watch your show.
Oh, thank
It is
you.
so quality.
Thank
Like I'm like,
you.
yes, sis. The outfits, the looks. I said, oh, this is good. Um, did you? And you speak about confidence. Were you confident like immediately, or did you have to like kind of build up the courage to now take that step to kind of take to better in yourself?
Do you know what? I think with those kind of things, I'm always quite confident because, like, I'm very much like an ideas, action, solution kind of person. So if I have an idea, and again, this is why I said earlier, like, I actually need to slow down because sometimes I action too many ideas when all I need to really do is focus. So when it comes to starting things, I'm very good at starting them. So I was definitely confident to start. I was like, yeah, boom, write the plan, do this, go here, do this. And with the quality, I appreciate you mentioning that because, again, it was very intentional. I wanted it to be very good quality, like right off the bat. So I was very confident with that. And I honestly feel like doing the podcast is something that it just comes naturally to me. I feel like I'm quite a good conversationalist. I don't really struggle to speak to people. So when I started the show, I didn't necessarily feel nervous because I felt like I was just gonna talk. That was my plan and that's that's what I did. And it wasn't really until like people started giving me feedback on the show, like, "Oh, wow, like, you're such a natural, like, you're really good at this, da, da, da," and I thought, "Oh, really? Like, I'm just talking." Like, I didn't really think I didn't but obviously it's a skill set, but it genuinely is just something that comes naturally to me. Like, I didn't try and do anything to make the conversation go in the way it went. I feel like naturally I just can hold conversations. So that's why I say like I don't feel like it required a confidence boost or anything because I just kind of just showed up as myself.
No, and you definitely did. You showed up nice and good and exciting. And honestly, I love watching it because you really talk into depth. Like it reminds me of like Oprah, but
Do you
like
know what? So
it
many
in
people have
its
said this,
oh
you
it
know.
really does, girl. Like if you need any encouragement, here is a fan saying, keep going,
Thank you
keep
so
going.
much.
So, Paula, you are raising two small children while
Yeah,
building an empire publicly. What
yeah.
kind of strength do you feel like this your current season demands? What are you doing? How are you doing it?
For me, I'm just trying to put God at the center of everything that I do. So that definitely is like my foundation. I try and just put God at the center of everything that I do. Even with the Paula Oyinkan Show, like I really wanted God to be at the foundation at the start of it. Like I didn't want it to be like I'm just going and doing it by myself. And then also I feel like that has led me, like I said this year, to just slowing down, like asking myself, what is the actual goal here? What is the actual thing that I want to achieve? And what is like the one, two, maybe three things I can focus on this year to lead me to that goal? Because I think sometimes we do feel like, oh, we need to be doing more, 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 especially like with social media, because you see everybody's success story and you're thinking, oh, wow, he sold his business at 27. I'm about to turn 32. All of my businesses have failed, you know? So it's kind of like just taking a step back from all of that. I'm also very intentional with like what I consume. So like the media that I consume, the shows that I watch, all of those kind of things. Like literally the last week or so, I just decided to log out of my personal social media. It's the first time I've ever done it before, but yeah, I think that was a decision I made because I just felt like I was spending a lot of time on social media, like strategizing and re-strategizing how I should show up there, comparing to other people, things like that. And I just thought, you know what? I just need to take a step back and really just focus on actually building my business, like getting clients, building what I'm doing, you know? So yeah, I've just like I do really feel like there's a lot of power in building your personal brand and it's definitely something that I'm going to do. But I've just decided, you know what? I'm just going to build my business and get clients and then at least I've got something to share when it comes to building my personal brand.
What we're trying to ascertain is like how you are able to do it effectively
Mm,
because you are still raising two children and you're still building. And what I'm hearing is it's more of you slowing down and refocusing is what's
yeah.
how is allowed you to do this now
Hmm.
because your other self was okay, do,
Yeah.
and so now you're more like, okay, cool, let's focus on what's important because you still have your family to look
Yeah.
after, and so
Hmm.
you can't take on as much as you used to before, but it's just now is let's take on the right things,
Yeah.
let's um consume the right information. Let's
Hmm.
use our time more efficiently and more judiciously to be able
Exactly.
to achieve these goals.
That's
No, I
exactly
understood
it.
completely. What does, if it's still what you're doing now, what does coping actually look like behind closed doors for you?
I feel like if somebody's coping, it almost sounds like you're not really thriving, you know? Because coping, what I take from the word coping is almost like you're managing, you know? Like maybe you're just like you're just about making it. That's what I get from
Hmm.
coping.
I think effective and off of that, it wouldn't sound like you're coping effectively
Mm.
because you have streamlined what you're doing. So
Yeah.
you've figured out your way of doing things so that it
Yeah.
doesn't make you feel the need to cope
Yeah.
um much.
But then at the same time, I do feel like I wouldn't say I've figured it out. This is just what's working right now, you know? I really do think that everyone is just continually on a journey. And for me, like taking a step back and slowing down has been what's helped me to actually focus on what are the priorities. And that might not be the case for somebody else. So, yeah, I think maybe in those first few years of having a child, I was definitely coping, because I'm juggling so many things. And it's like I'm just
100%.
about staying above water. But now I think it is like, honestly, like I
You've
said, for
come
me,
out of that now.
yeah. And I think honestly, to get to that place, for me personally, is centering God, but also prioritizing yourself. Like as a mum, it's not selfish to do things for yourself. Like you need to pour into your own cup so that you can fill other people's cups as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so Paula, you've written publicly about losing your dad unexpectedly.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, how has grief shaped the way you mother, especially around tenderness, fear, and what feels fragile?
Mm. I think grief for me, because obviously you know that everybody dies, but I feel like you don't really feel death until somebody close to you dies, you know? Um, and for me, when my dad died, it's like almost the realization that, wow, life genuinely is so short. Like, you can't spend your life just scared or worried, like, oh, I'm just going to stay in this job because, it pays the bills, it does what it needs to do. No, like, live your life. That was the real thing that I took away from my dad dying suddenly. And then in terms of like how that impacts how I mother, I think for me, it's just like hopefully instilling that confidence in my children, instilling it in them that you're allowed to live your life. You're allowed to pursue your dreams. You're allowed to like, just go for it. Like you don't have to just follow the mapped out path that everybody has set out for you because life really is too short. And then there's definitely moments in my journey where I think to myself like, oh, I wonder how my dad would get on, like, with my kids or even my husband, because I see a lot of similarities in them. And like with my son, I see a lot of similarities in how he is and how my dad was as well. So I just think to myself, like, that would have been such a beautiful relationship, But that's life.
Honestly, and really sorry to hear about that loss. And
Thank you.
it's just a heavy situation, and I'm sure what you say is very true in terms of you don't fully recognize it until it happens close to you. More recently, I found out a family member lost her third child,
Oh my goodness.
and it's one of those ones that where you're just like, Mother's Day is coming up, and I'm not sure what to say.
Mhm.
So I'm just like, and I'm one of those. I'm someone that's a bit weird with grieving
Mhm.
because I never know what to say. I never
Yeah.
know what to do. I'm always like the awkward person in the room, like, what happens now? So
Mhm.
it's just death is such a heavy thing, and there's never a best way to live it. You just
Mhm.
process all the time. I want to talk to you about your daughter growing up. You have a daughter
Yes, I do.
and you have a son as well.
Yeah, my oldest is the fun.
So your daughter grows up and watches this our episode.
Mhm.
Yeah. What do you hope she understands about your strength that the
Oh.
outside may not see?
Again, I'm gonna say, I think my strength, it comes from God alone. Like you can't do things in your own strength. That's number one thing that I would want her to take from it. But also, like, there's a vulnerability in strength. Like being vulnerable is there's a strength in that as well. Because I think, especially as Black women, we've got this whole like, oh, strong, independent Black woman trope. But actually, there's strength in vulnerability. Like, let people, well, the people that you love and that actually care for you, let them know how you feel. You don't need to hold your emotions in. There's nothing shameful about crying. Like, let it out. So yeah, that's where my strength comes from, my faith in God, and also like the knowledge that there is strength in vulnerability as well. Yeah.
100%. Wow, that's really good. That's really, really good.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I want to ask. We're moving on to a more, I wouldn't call this lighthearted. I would more say this is bring it to the table.
Oh,
You're going to
okay.
bring it to the table. So this is our section called Stop Doing That. Yes. This is where we need you, Paula, to bring your pet peeve
Oh.
as a mother to the table. Tell us what you're currently disliking or what you have disliked in the past
Mhm.
that people, aunties and uncles, brothers and sisters, everybody needs to stop doing that.
Number one, it's gonna have to be, oh, you're a mother now. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't wear that. Like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I know we spoke about changes as a mother, yeah, but just because I'm a mum doesn't mean I can't wear ripped jeans. Okay, like, let's stop doing all of that,
Speak
please.
on it.
Honestly,
Speak on
oh,
it.
that is such a frustration of
That
mine.
that is a good frustrating one. Okay, Paula, we've got some moms who have written in for you. These are not little dilemmas, but they're the kinds that women carry quietly. And I
Okay.
want your real take on them. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. I had a second baby and honestly thought maternity leave would be one time that I could slow down without guilt. Instead, I found out my role was being restructured
Oh
while I was
God.
still recovering and trying to breastfeed around the clock. Everyone kept saying, maybe this is God redirecting you. Funny enough, that's exactly what I told you. But at the time, it did not feel spiritual. It
Mhm.
felt humiliating. My husband was supportive, but I could feel the pressure rising in the house because one income suddenly didn't feel enough. I started spiraling about whether I had something professionally irrelevant about myself. I've now started a small business from home, but I still feel triggered every time someone asks, what do you do? Because the truth is, I didn't leave on my own terms.
Mm.
My question is, how do I rebuild confidence when motherhood and work both seem to have hit me at the same time?
Oh, girl. Oh, do you know what? I feel like it's got to be a mindset shift. You have to reframe the restructuring in your mind because I feel like this is a very similar story to me. I think, firstly, congratulations on starting your business. Like, that is definitely something a lot of people do not do. A lot of people have ideas and they don't start. That already should be a confidence booster. And when I say reframing the restructuring in your mind, it's not about you. It's about the company. And for me personally, I do go as far as saying their loss. Good riddance. Good riddance to them. Like, that's their loss. It's got nothing to do with you personally, and I think maybe you need to kind of remove yourself from it and like look at it from a logical standpoint. And also, I think something that will help if this was a friend of yours that was in this scenario, what advice would you give them? Because I think a lot of time we're very good at giving advice, but then when it comes to us, we don't really see it in the same way that we would with other people.
No, that's really great. So another one here for you. My husband is a good man and very involved father. So this is what makes me feel guilty. Nothing is dramatically wrong. He helps, he provides, he asks how I am. But since having children, our whole relationship feels like an operations management. We speak about nursery pickups, shopping list, finances, meal preps, grandparents, and bedtimes. He still reaches for me physically, but emotionally, I feel like I've disappeared into function. I miss being looked at like a whole woman with a mind, edges, and humor and desire. I don't want to start a fight over something that sounds small, but I can feel resentment quietly building because I keep thinking, is this all marriage becomes once the children come?
Oh.
My question is, how do I say I feel unseen without sounding ungrateful for everything he does?
Oh, do you know what? I think this is one of the hardest things as well because especially when you're married to a good man, he's like doing all the right things, but it's like you just want to feel like you. You don't want to feel like, oh, I'm the mum in this situation or I'm your wife in this situation. You want to just feel like you. You want to feel pursued, you know? So I think, to be honest with you, have an honest conversation. I think be honest. I don't feel like you should just hold that in and let it build up because once resentment builds up, it's quite hard to, to go back with that. So I think you need to have an open, honest conversation with him in the same way that you've said it here. Just say it there. Like, I love, how supportive you are. You're doing everything amazing. And me personally, this is how I feel. I just feel like, there's a slight emotional disconnect. I think have that open conversation. And then another thing I would do is create space for you guys to do things without the kids. Like, I don't know if you're going on dates, but date each other, date again, because that will help as well. And maybe you can make it a rule that on those dates, you don't talk about the kids or you don't talk about like household things. I think dating will be actually very helpful if you're not already doing that, which it doesn't sound like you are. So I think that's actually a big step.
Yeah, especially at that beginning phase, I think
Yeah.
everybody's learning. I think also sometimes fathers are still, they're still getting acquainted to fatherhood
Yeah,
while we are getting acquainted to motherhood. So there's a lot
exactly.
of like, everybody is in their own world trying to figure out things.
Yeah.
And sometimes that conversation is something to realign you and
Hmm.
say, oh, by the way, this is, how I'm feeling. And yeah, no, I agree with you for sure. Here's another one for you. I built a personal brand before kids, and people still see me as organized, high performing, and always put together. Online, I look like I'm balancing motherhood, marriage, and work beautifully. Offline, I am constantly overstimulated. I forget basic things. I cry in the shower. I feel irrationally angry when everyone needs me all at once. The worst part is I've become the woman other mums come to for encouragement. So now I feel trapped inside my own image. I don't know how to admit that I am struggling without feeling like I am ruining what I have built. How do I stay honest when the version of you people admire no longer matches how you feel inside?
I think, to be honest with you, you just have to say it. I feel like what you will find with your personal brand is that if you're actually honest about what you're going through, more women are going to be able to relate to that. And do you know what? I say this as somebody, I have always been that friend that people come to for advice. And sometimes you feel like you can't go anywhere else for advice. But actually, this is what I was saying, like there's strength in vulnerability. So if you open up with your personal brand and just share the truth. Like, you don't have to say the exact details, but you could, write something or create a video that says, I cry in the shower too. I feel overstimulated too. Like, I think that would actually help a lot more of your audience than you kind of putting on a facade because it's not true, and people see through inauthenticity.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I will personally connect to someone that is telling me their problems the same way
Yeah,
I'm telling them my problems, because guess what? We all
yeah,
have
we
problems.
do.
Like,
It's stuff of
we
life.
all, honestly, and I will find it more difficult to connect with someone that almost seems perfect, because that's not reality.
It's not.
Like, I love the fact you rocked up on the show and say, yeah, no makeup today. Like, that just shows the realness. Like, because who's got time?
This
Sometimes
is
there's no time.
it. I literally have back-to-back meetings today, and I would have really loved to, like, do a little bit of glam, but I just didn't have the time. And I thought, "Do you know what? I'd rather just come and have conversation." Like I said, I'm beautiful with or without makeup. So,
Okay, so another question. Um, I have two daughters, both still young, but they have already started watching me quite closely, and it scares me.
mm,
They copy how I stand, how I speak to myself, how I react when I see my body in the mirror, and I didn't realize how much unresolved stuff I still had around beauty, weight, desirability, and being enough until I heard my oldest repeat one of my own phrases back to me. I grew up around women who were strong but also deeply critical of themselves.
mm.
And I can feel that legacy trying to repeat through me in small, everyday ways. I want my girls to inherit softness, not pressure, and I want them to feel free in their bodies. My question is, how do I raise daughters with confidence when I'm still unlearning so much inside myself?
Oh gosh, that is really hard because the thing is, yeah, we can tell our kids, oh, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. But if they see you doing the opposite, that's what they're going to reflect. Like what you say to yourself is almost going to become their inner voice to themselves. So I think although you're still working through it, maybe outwardly you need to just be speaking life into yourself because the way you speak to yourself, like I said, is how they're going to start speaking to themselves. And the thing is, as you begin to do that, and the more and more you do that, the more your brain is going to start believing you anyway. So it's like almost you working on yourself and speaking life over yourself is going to rewire your brain to believe like, oh, actually, I am beautiful. Actually, my body is beautiful. Like, wow, this body carried 2 kids. Like, just, those kind of things. You need to start speaking those over yourself in front of your kids because they really do copy everything you say. And I think, when your kids start speaking, that's when you realize some of the things that you say a lot because they start saying it. So that would be my advice.
If there are people around you, I think it's also good to encourage people to start speaking positively, especially to new moms. I can remember when I lacked a lot of confidence and I had a lot of postpartum insecurities because of the weight gain. And I can remember dressing up one day and it just took a little moment where my son sees me. He's like a year and a half, 2 at this point. He sees me, I've come out, I've actually dolled myself up, and he looks at me and goes, wow. And I was like, oh God, I'm gonna bawl. Like, I'm gonna break down. And just that little affirmation just blessed me with a bit more confidence in the day that I had a bounce to my step. Like, so yes, my son is 2 years, but I would just encourage anyone around, mums, dads, sisters, siblings, tell them you look good. Because the more you pour into us, because we've been given birth, we've given our all. And in that year or two, we really need people to just bless us with words
of affirmation,
of confidence,
real, honestly.
and affirmation. We really need it. People don't recognize how much we need that. So your last one. My marriage is breaking down slowly, not through one big scandal, but through years of me carrying more than I can hold. I work, I mother, I manage the house, and I absorb everybody's emotions. And when I finally speak up, I'm told I'm becoming too independent and too influenced by social media. My family think because there is no physical abuse, I should endure it and keep praying. Oh. But I feel lonely in my own home, and I am terrified my children are learning that a woman's job is to disappear quietly while everyone praises her sacrifice. I don't want to make a reckless decision, but I also don't want to lose myself in the name of being a good wife. My question is, how do you know when you're being called to persevere and when you're actually being asked to betray yourself?
It's so hard though, because I feel like you're the only one that can truly know. I feel like a lot of the time as women, our intuition, we know deep down. Like, when they say that a woman has left a relationship, like long before she physically left the relationship, because she knew deep down that that's not where she wanted to be or what she wanted to do. So I think you just have to be brutally honest with yourself. Like, oh gosh, it's so hard because I do feel like, with relationships, especially when kids are involved, you want to make that work. You want to try and do the best that you can. But at the same time, I don't think that that should be done to the detriment of yourself. I don't know if you agree with that or not, Ezinne, because I was actually going to advise about like maybe you should try and start doing more things for yourself. Like even if you're not necessarily expressing yourself at home, maybe like find a nice hobby that you can do where you feel like yourself. But that's not even the question that was asked. So what do you think?
I feel like when I hear persevere, I feel like it's telling me suffer. It's a way, because I'm not called to motherhood to persevere personally. For me, I'm called to motherhood to nurture, to pour love. I see motherhood as a very positive gift from God. And so perseverance is not something I attribute to that. So that always kind of makes me feel like perseverance is, there's something wrong. So therefore you have to persevere and push through. Motherhood and the concept of being in a healthy relationship shouldn't feel like
A
heavy
struggle.
and negative and struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm getting. And betrayal of self is not recognizing that perseverance is a negative thing. That shouldn't be where you are. So for me, if this was me, I would go to the first therapy to offload my truth. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like she's not vocalizing everything because there's a lot of judgment within the family.
Yeah.
And she feels that it's her job to carry this weight, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to offload this weight. And as Black people, sometimes therapy is not something that we openly talk about or share, but I do encourage. I went to therapy for a little bit. I went to therapy after having my son, because I didn't realize I actually had a lot of resentment
Mm.
towards my entire family.
Oh wow,
Like,
yeah.
bottled
Mm-hmm.
inside,
Mm-hmm.
suppressed for years, that I didn't even recognize was a thing
Mm-hmm.
until I gave birth. And
Yeah.
I was like, why am I angry at everybody?
Mm.
Like, everybody was collecting. Like, there was no there was no one that was safe. There, no one was there. Even on social media, my dancers were collecting. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
said, everybody, leave me alone. Because this is too much. And I had to go therapy because I said, Ezinne, this is you. I don't even want to say it's not me. It is who I am, but it's a person that I haven't actually met before because I have suppressed. I have been
Yeah.
persevering that
Mm-hmm.
character for years just to make everybody seem happy. And I had to go and deal with that. So I feel like for me, you need to deal with the inner hurt and,
Yeah.
and vocalize it and actually pinpoint what is making you feel like you should be persevering, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore it will prevent you from betraying yourself. I think they're all kind of
Mm.
connected.
That is very true. I think therapy is a great advice, especially with these kind of like very big decisions. Let's be real. I think therapy is very important and very often overlooked. I don't know if this the person is Black, but in the Black community, it's very overlooked. Actually, it sounds kind of like basically what you're going through. It sounds like it. So yeah. Oh, that's a hard one, man. But I think that
That
advice
is a
is
hard
a lot
one.
better than what I said. So at least you got some good advice there.
Listen, but no one has the perfect answer. Like, not like no one has, and that's the thing about this. This is not a show where we're trying to advise you to make decisions based on what we don't know your ins and outs. We don't know your day-to-day struggles.
Hmm.
All we can say is, from our experience, this is what I would do.
I feel like those postpartum hormones, yeah, they play into it, and it feels like that's you. It feels like that's who you are until you come out the other side, and you're like, wow, like so that wasn't me.
Was that what?
Like, do you know what it's like?
I
You know
had to
when
start
you're like,
calling people to say sorry.
yeah,
Like,
this
by
is
the way.
it. This is what I'm saying. I feel like, when it's like you're about to come on your period, yeah, and you're just angry or you're like really upset. Like for me personally, like I even like just everything is irritating me, or I'm just like crying at stuff, or I'm just eating like crazy. And in that moment, it feels like this is who I am. And then like a week later, the period comes, I'm like, oh, okay, well that makes sense now. And but I feel like it's that heightened once you've had kids, and it's for a much longer period of time as well.
Mm, mm.
But no. Whew.
Listen. Oh gosh. So Paula, tell us, what are you? This is the section of the show, let me say, is where we support a mum, and you are a mum. And so we want to ask you, what are you currently building right now that you want us to talk about?
Love this. Oh gosh, I've got another meeting shortly, and I really don't want to end this call, but I
No,
will
we're done.
share.
This is literally it's
Oh, okay. No, I will. I was going to share
yeah.
anyway. To be fair, um, so I did speak about how like I'm basically just looking to build my business and get clients because for long I've been building my personal brand, but it's like, what am I actually building in the back? So two things I'm working on. Season 2 of the Paula Oyinkan Show. I'm gonna start recording again from May. So hopefully in summer we can start releasing season 2, and and onwards. But also I am building McCrory Studios, which is basically almost like deeper than the Paula Oyinkan Show. The Paula Oyinkan Show was kind of just the start. So essentially, McCrory Studios is like an IP development studio where I work with brands and founders, preferably female founders, because I'm all about women, um, to basically help them connect with women by developing co-owned IP. So that essentially would look like working with brands to like build out podcast series or like docu-series, those kind of things. And we basically work as a development partner together. So yes, that is what I'm doing right now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to see it blow up and look amazing as always.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paula, we're going to wrap up the show now. And we have one way where we close the show. And we would like our guest to do the honors.
Ooh, okay.
So you have to finish the sentence. Are you ready for your sentence?
Yeah.
So Paula, a good mother is...
It's not flexible. You know, it's like they can jump. Adaptable. Is that the word? Yeah. A good mother is adaptable. Yeah.
I love it.
I feel like I should have had a stronger word there.
What is that word?
You got there in the
Thank
end.
you so much. We got there. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being so open, so honest. And you've just been so wonderful to talk to. And she was definitely right. Let me tell you who connected us. Esther.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not surprised, honestly. I loved having Esther on. So
she's brilliant.
She said this. And she was right. We did get on.
No, 100%. 100%. Thank you so much. And I can't wait for you to watch this back. And yeah, thank you. Stay blessed and we'll speak soon.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. If today's conversation resonated with a change you are living through, consider sharing it with someone who may recognize themselves in it. You can follow the show wherever you get your podcast as we continue building an archive of honest, culturally rooted stories about identity, body, and becoming. I'm Ezinne. See you in the next episode.